Greetings, greetings, greetings. I am Dr. Noni Davis, and I'm coming to you from St. Cia Academy. And welcome. This is my podcast, my historical podcast, but I'm also a legacy owner. I want to always put that in from my parents to late William Edward Davis and my mother, Sylvia Davis, who is still with us. And today I want to continue on this what is it called, going down a rabbit hole research about these amazing Civil War, I mean spies, African Americans. The more you read about us, the more you learn about our people, the more you're like, what in the world? um when they're hiding our history, they're literally hiding the nuggets of the contributions that we made. And some of it had to be hidden, especially with the spies and everything. But, this whole notion of Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. And then, we find out, well, oh, it was the soldiers. It was the Black Civil War soldiers. And then you find out, oh, yeah, oh, Harriet Tubman was a spy. Oh, wow. And then, you find out, now I'm finding out, oh, wait. It was deeper than that. We had spies in the Confederacy. A person, Miss Bowser, who was working in the Jefferson Davis's the Confederacy president, Jefferson Davis's house, and was stealing his information that he was communicating with the military. Then we find out, hey, Robert E. Lee actually said, hey, these black people are the reason why we lost the war. I'm like, oh my God. And so we literally earned our own freedom. And it's also encouraging because we know we ain't going back. We don't have to go back. We've already been through this. These people don't know who we are. Unfortunately, too many of us don't know who we are either. And so we get depressed and succumb to this. And I'm not saying we shouldn't be worried, but we should definitely, once you know who you are historically. Oh, I got some pain in my hair, y'all. I was painting earlier today with my kids. Anyway, we are more than conquerors. I'm just gonna put it like that. We are more than conquerors. So greetings, greetings, greetings as we continue on this journey. I think I've covered at this point, I'm gonna go back to the first one that we did. I think, and just go give thanks to all these people's names. We had James Armistead Lafayette. I'm gonna say his name and just give him thanks for what he did. We have Saul Matthews. We give thanks for him and these are the people who were Revolutionary War. We give thanks for what is this other guy? That's a Townsend guy. That's Miss Liss. We give thanks for Miss Liss, who was part of the spy ring. We give thanks for Tego, who was another one. Um, let's see. We got James Lafayette. How about Kwaku? He was a civil, I mean, a Revolutionary War spy. We have Cato, who is also a Revolutionary War hero. So then we have, let's go on back over here. And let's see, I have this, Mary Richardson Browser. She was the one I was talking about, who I was talking about earlier. She was the Revolutionary War, Civil War spy. And then you have, let's see, who's the other person's name? We're gonna get everybody. Um, let's see. I had them all down here. Black dispatches. These people were like something else. We have General Butler. Now, General Butler talked about him quite a bit. And so you got John Scobell, and you've got who else? I can't see everybody's name. I have to write all these names down somewhere so we can Ringwald, Scobell. We have Ringwald. Oh, Ringgold. That was, yeah, the guy's name was Ringgold. And then we have over here uh, Mary Truvester, who I was talking about yesterday. She was like, I mean, last week, crazy how she got that information about that, about the plans for the ironclad ship. I mean, these people. Um, then you have what's his name? That was her husband. Okay, wait. This was the other guy. Oh, Robert Smalls. How we gonna forget about Robert Smalls? Robert Smalls was not playing. And so this week I want to talk about Charlie Wright, William A. Jackson, and I'm going to end with Abraham Galloway. Now, uh, so I found this Wikipedia article, and and then there's also the one I talked about. It's the Civil War. It's a Center for the Study of Intelligence, and so the CIA has created this intelligence uh, um, uh, place. Well, um, site where they have done research on the history of spies and central intelligence in the country, and some of these agencies that we have now were birthed during the Civil War. How about that? And black people were there. So anyway, and so this the Black Dispatches, and it included the same information that I had found on the Center for the Study of Intelligence. So between these two articles, the information reveals that as the Civil War progressed, the Union became more and more invested in the Black Dispatch because their information was often significantly more thorough and accurate. And like I said before, we were doing this reverse. You said I'm stupid. I'm gonna play stupid. I'm gonna let you think that. You say I don't have the intelligence to fight you. Okay, I'm gonna let you think that. You said I don't have the intelligence or the wherewithal to observe what you're doing and make use critical thinking skills. I'm gonna let you think that or it prove you're wrong. Um, so earlier I said mentioned that they had the Pinkerton Agency, which was out of Chicago. Uh, um, Later on became very famous, but at this time he was hired by the Confederate. I mean, no, hired by the Union to invade the Confederate territory. So this was the South, and the only way he could do it, and like I think I talked about last week, is that he could hire merchants. He tried to get um, solicit a lot of white Americans to help him um, go into these areas, but they were not invested in it. Very few were really willing to do it. It was very risky. It was very dangerous, and but black people were willing to take that challenge and rise to it. And so many of them, were willing to risk their lives. So what we've uh, let's see. So this agency was recruited by the Union to organize a covert spy ring to enter Confederate territory, and he was the one who recognized the significance of enslaved and freed people whose social positions gave them opportunities. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. Hold on. I can't talk right now. I've got an appointment. I'm online. But, oh, I think I take that from here. It didn't work out, but anyway. Yeah, we tried to put that. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I didn't know who that was. I thought it might have been a parent. Oh, pardon me. So, um, so where was I? So Southern White, because of the problem with Southern White. So this guy, Charlie Wright, William A. Jackson, and Abraham Galloway are the three African spies I'm introducing in this particular podcast. So, as I stated previously, the Union was fully aware of the importance of contraband intelligence. And like I said before, contraband intelligence were the Africans. Africans were considered contraband if they ran away. That they were considered property, and if you were property, and even if you took your own self, you were contraband. So contraband intelligence is what the Union called the black people who escaped and entered into Union territory. Um, and Africans were considered to be the, like I said, um, the best sources of information. So, but Pinkerton only stayed until 1862, and so we know that the war ended a couple of years later. But after he left, the Union said, "Okay, they're going to take this framework they had already started and create their own agency," and it was called the BMI, the Bureau of Military Information. I'm learning so much stuff, I tell you, and it was under General Joseph Hooker and Colonel George H. Sharp. So the purpose of the BMI was to continue the collection of intelligence. And the BMI is focused solely on the collection of that was their sole purpose, but they were organized the information according to how it was received. So was it received through scouting? Was it received through spying? It was received through interrogation? Was it received through cavalry, reconnaissance, and a balloon observation? So when I said balloon observation, I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. So during this time, they had a signal corps and observation, which I had not heard of before, flag signals. And another way they could have received the information was through telegraph intercepts, captured Confederate documents. And the example of that would be Miss Trevester from up there in Norfolk, and Southern newspapers, and from subordinate and also subordinate military units. So I was only familiar with some of these terms. So, for example, it was a common practice of the Union Army to use balloons for aerial reconnaissance. And let's see, I was trying to find a picture that I had taken, but I don't know if I did uploaded it. But they have pictures of their balloons. Let's see, did I do it? Let's see, who was he? Hot air balloon. So let's see, did it go? So they had air balloons in the Civil War. Let me see, can I get it up here? Oh, come on. Okay. Okay, so they had these hot air balloons, right? They were using. Now they did not have a battalion. They did have a battalion of hot air balloon reconnaissance by the Native American. I mean, by African Americans. It was an all black one during World War II, I believe. But at this time, the way Africans participated was that they would help with the signaling. So the signal flags. Let's see. Do I have the signal flags? Got a picture of that. In the Civil War. Let's see. All right, so these are just a sample of the flags, and the flags would be, they could be uh, white with a red dot, black. I mean, red with a white dot, and I think they could be black with a white dot or a black dot or whatever. But anyway, or a square, and they were used to convey specific messages. And they said Africans were very much involved with that part of signaling these balloons to let them know um, where the direction of that the troops may be heading, whether the troops were they able to see with the scope of the fight of the battle, who seemed to be winning, did they need more artillery, did they need some more support or whatever. So these flags were used to signal those sort of messages to the balloon battalion. And the balloons were usually at least 1,000 feet above ground level, so they were far out of reach of any kind of artillery at that time. So they were able to survey the entire battlefield. and that was something that Africans were also engaged in. So I was like, wow, this thing is like really deep. So they called it aerial reconnaissance. And so aeronauts like Thaddeus, I think, is this Thaddeus? No, that's not Thaddeus. That's the other guy. But this guy, Thaddeus S.C. Lowe, flew airplane balloons 1,000 feet above ground. And from these balloons, they used signal flags. They said these flags could be as long as 4 feet and could be white with a red center, red with a white center, and black with a white center. Okay, that's what I said. So these messages were sent to those who held flags at different locations. So enter Charlie Wright. So Charlie Wright, I could not find a picture of him, was from Culpeper, Virginia, and he crossed Union lines on June 1863, rather. And he was only 20 years old. This young man was considered contraband, according to the Union, and who they provided detail of the information that he shared with them about a dozen separate Confederate regiments from both Ewell's Corps and Longstreet Corps, and that they were leaving Virginia through Culpeper to Maryland. What? So he recognized as he was escaping from where he from Culpeper, he saw all of this movement of these Union troops, and of course he was hiding right in these fields or in the trees in the woods or whatever. So they did not see him, but he was able to see them, and so that was the information he passed on. And so they said because of this information, General Hooker was able to use Charlie Wright's information to shadow the movement of the Confederates. So he was like, okay, they're moving this way. And he said, so we want to follow them and then eventually get ahead of them. And so what he did is that so laid out the strategy for the Battle of Gettysburg. He was able to go through the Blue Ridge and see where they were going, I calculate the distance or whatever they were doing, and move in front of them and through the Blue Ridge Mountains, and he remained out of sight. And so what happened is that the Confederacy didn't even realize that they had gotten in front of them, and they blocked the Confederacy's ability to get to Washington, D.C. That was crazy. But that was because of Mr. Charlie Wright. So Charlie Wright's accurate description of the movement of Confederate troops made them vulnerable to the Union and led to their defeat at the Battle of what? Gettysburg. So that's awesome. And and that it was noted in the records. So then we have William A. Jackson. William A. Jackson worked with Mary Bowser, who was the woman who worked in the Confederacy White House version of the White House, the presidential house with Jefferson Davis. He was the coachman, butler/coachman. And so he too was collecting reconnaissance while he was driving. He would just sit there and listen to everything that was discussed in the coach. Everything that was discussed in the coach. And he would pass this information also on to Mary Bowser or on to and Mary Bowser would pass it on to the Van Loons, who were the white women who had led that spy ring in Richmond, Virginia. And then he was also able to carry, because he was a coachman, he was able to drive into these places and pass that information on. They said he is what Union soldiers called an agent in place. So an agent in place was the person who had already penetrated a particular space, and so they were it was undercover, like undercover police officers and undercover spies. They had already penetrated and or workers or whatever, and they were gathering information. So reconnaissance, what for sure. So Mr. Jackson was hired out to the Davis household by the Van Loons and the spy ring there. And on May 3rd, 1862, Mr. Jackson passed on information about the Jefferson's plans, and he was able to enter the Union territory near Fredericksburg, Virginia, and and the information he shared was not identified in the article, but it was significant. So as soon as he provided that information, the Union General McDonald notified the War Department in Washington, D.C. And the information from Mr. Jackson was critical in the Union's ability to strategize and anticipate what moves the Confederacy was making. And Mr. Jackson's contributions are currently part of the study of the Black dispatches. So here we are. I mean, we were doing what might have been considered major, like Ms. Bowser, to maybe somewhat major, like Mr. Wright. I mean, Mr. Jackson, and maybe like incidental but significant by Mr. Charlie Wright. So we were right there in the midst of all of this, and it was all for the benefit of our freedom. And the union would not have been able to do this without us, because, like I said, last time, they were in Southern territory. How are they going to know? They don't know the environment down here. If you're from Massachusetts, if you're from New York, you don't know Virginia. You don't know the South. You don't know North Carolina and all these places. So yeah, these Africans were there, and they were like, yeah, okay, we got you. And so the last spy I wanted to introduce, now I was able to find a picture of this sir. And this guy is Abraham Galloway. Abraham Galloway is looks like Frederick Douglass's twin. And that's him, Abraham Galloway. Abraham Galloway was born on February 8th, 1837 in Smithfield, North Carolina. So this is the guy I've been talking about who was from here. His mother was an enslaved African woman named Hester Hankins. Mr. Galloway, his father was John Wesley Galloway, and he was the captain of a ship, and he was from a very prominent white family. Mr. Galloway, now mind you, this is very critical information. Mr. Galloway never learned to read or write, so he was considered illiterate. Watch what he was able to do. This man was something else. So Mr. Galloway never had any formal education at all, and never learned how to read. All right, but however, when he moved with his father to Wilmington. So Mr. Galloway's father took him down to Wilmington and had him become apprentice brick mason. He was sent for an apprenticeship. He got this apprenticeship, and then he became a master brickman. Now, once he got his job, his dad said, all right, I see you're down here, you making some money, and I want you to pay me $180 per year of your wages that you're earning as a brick mason. And so at some point it was just too much for the young man. I think he was like 1837. Let's see, he was like, this was now 1857 or something like that. And he was like, I'm done with this. I'm out of here. So Wilmington, North Carolina was a port city. And so, like many other port cities, even like Norfolk, Virginia, folks down there in Tarboro area, anywhere there was a port city, there was a very active Underground Railroad unit. And so Mr. Galloway had an arrangement with his father, and he said he ain't gonna do it no more. And it was unreasonable. And he, with another enslaved young man, escaped on the Underground Railroad on a schooner to Philadelphia. And with the help of the famous abolitionist William Grant Still, William Grant Still, I'm sorry. He's the musician who wrote an orchestra. He must have been named after Mr. Steele. But William Steele, who was in charge of the Underground Railroad in Philadelphia, he was a major conductor. He was the one that collected all this information and wrote the book about all the people who escaped, who came through his printing service uh, uh, underground house on the Underground Railroad. And so he encouraged them to escape. It was three young men. I don't think I thought I had the young men's names down here, but anyway, he could not stay. Galloway could not stay in Philadelphia because now they had the Fugitive Slave Act. So if you were caught, you were going to be taken back, and you may not have survived it, or you were going to be sent to even further south as punishment, or to the Caribbean as further punishment. So it, he couldn't take that chance. So Mr. Steele provided Galloway, Mr. Eden, and another fugitive um, with the money for a train ticket and contacts for their journey farther up to Canada. So he went to Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And during this time, the only evidence that was left of Galloway was a picture that he took, and that picture was later printed out. And so that's how we know he was actually and met with William Grant Steele, because he was in his book. And then the oilcloth that he got off of the schooner that he escaped on. And the problem with the oil, with that was, or what it symbolized, was how dangerous the journey was. Africans who escaped on these schooners had to hide in these very dangerous locations on these schooners. And sometimes they would, if the Navy suggested that there was contraband on the schooner, escaped their Africans, they would permeate the air with this gasoline, and these fumes that could actually kill them, poison them, or whatever. But Galloway and the people and a man named Eden who he escaped with, they actually did experience that. But however, they recovered. And so the oilcloth was a symbol of their survival on that schooner. So now, by this time, Galloway was, like I said, was 20 years old. So he went to Canada, but he wanted to still remain very connected to the Underground Railroad. So this dude said, I'm going to go on back down to Ohio. And he was very active in Massachusetts, and he joined the abolitionist movement. And although he wasn't a reader or a writer, they said he was an amazing orator and would make these public speaking arrangements or engagements that were anti-slavery. So he would go back and forth, and they said he also used his brick mason skills to go to Haiti. Imagine that. He went to Haiti in 1861 to support James Redpath, who was a white abolitionist who was trying to establish a Black emancipating community. What was it called? An exile community of Black people in St. Mark. And so he volunteered to go down there for about 15 weeks and work to help construct the city. It's crazy. It's amazing. I mean, so he escaped from Wilmington, North Carolina, went up to Philadelphia, then went to Canada, then was in Ohio and Massachusetts, and then traveled to Haiti. Wow. So his spy legacy, though, began in 1862, following the breakout of the war. And some of the folks in Massachusetts who he had been working with had him recruited to become a spy under Butler, the same guy who was down there at Fort Monroe. And so he was, and this guy, remember, he was the commander. And so we read about him with other people who were part of the Black Dispatch. Now, what happened to Galloway was that he was there for a little bit, and then they sent him down to Mississippi. Well, when he got to Louisiana, after he got to Louisiana, he was then sent to do some undercover work in Mississippi. They said he disappeared and nobody knew where he was for a minute. And so it's believed that he was caught by the Confederacy, but he somehow escaped. Okay. And so because there was no contact, they thought that he had died, but they said all of a sudden he resurfaced in New Bern, North Carolina, and reportedly was in very dire need. So I mean, he must have been told about the frame, but he did get back to New Bern. And then after, with the help of this lady named Mary Ann a Starkey, who was an enslaved woman at that time. Um, she was also a political person, advocate for freedom or whatever, and so she helped him get back on his feet. This man lived a very interesting life. He was an active political voice in New Bern. He resisted African American participation in the Civil War. When they were trying to begin to recruit African Americans, he was like, "No, you're not going to take us unless you can ensure that the only thing we are doing is making sure that we win this war and Africans are free. If you want Africans to join this war, we have to have a guarantee that we would be free, and then there would be no more slavery in the United States." So under these demands, that's how the first North Carolina colored volunteers was organized. I needed to have a picture of that. So he was critical in making sure that before we did that in North Carolina, we ain't going nowhere until we get these assurances. Then he was also a strong advocate for African Americans gaining full citizenship in the USA, in addition to ensuring that the colored troops were treated fairly. He was a prominent figure, prominent politician. Mind you, he could not read or write yet. He never learned how to read and write, but he was a major voice in North Carolina among the colored community. He met with President Abraham Lincoln, with other African American leaders from North Carolina. He although he was illiterate, he was invited to engage with his contemporaries through his major speeches. He knew Henry Highland Garland and Frederick Douglass, and participated with them in the National Equal Rights League. Mr. Abraham eventually became a state senator for North Carolina. And it's just amazing. It's absolutely incredible to know that our ancestors were achieving these critical feats in the midst of the extreme inhumane violence in America. And let us just be encouraged. Let us not faint. Let us not fall, but rise, 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 because our ancestors already did this. We should have so much to be thankful for, so much to be proud of. And so, ashe, ashe, ashe.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
They were never supposed to win. In a system built to keep Black families landless, one decision changed everything. Bitter Ground's Inheritance tells the true story of heirs who fought through Jim Crow, courts, challenges, and silence to claim land, wealth, and legacy. Told by descendant Captain Newborn, this is more than a story, it's a rare victory. A must-read that exposes America's hidden past. Get your copy today.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. I'ma say she a student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm gonna say she a student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm gonna say she a student.
It's a rare condition this day and age to read any good news on the newspaper page. And love and tradition of the grand design, some people say, is even harder to find. Well, then there must be some magic clue inside these gentle walls. 'Cause all I see is a tower of dreams, real love bursting out of every scene. It's the bigger love of the family.